3 Count Thursday is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? In terms of like superstars in their prime, you know, and talking about those what ifs, and it's tied to Owen Hart as well, unfortunately, is you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know, had the neck injury, and you know that cut down his career. There's no way to deny that it cut down his career, because like, I mean, that Austin time was so short. And like, you know, as I'm watching the documentary, and they're talking about merchandising, and they're talking about, you know, all the different things
merchandising
that, you know, the crowd pops, and even to this day when we hear the glass chatter, I mean, it's there's nothing like it. So it kind of got my brain going, like, and I've had a discussion with Ernest from the Take 3 Wrestling podcast about this, and I always think the answer is yes. Is Stone Cold Steve Austin the biggest superstar in, I mean, not just WWE history, obviously WWE, but in pro wrestling history? Like, is he the number one? Like, we've always talked about Hogan. We've always, you know, there's always some that are up near the top, but in terms of just maybe just in that wrestling capsule, because we can look at The Rock, and we can, you know, the people that maybe have broken out of the wrestling bubble that have become, you know, mainstream names elsewhere. But in terms of the wrestling business, is Austin the number one superstar ever? I feel like he is, because I feel like, you know, to this day, and obviously, you know, the things that Terry has done has diminished what Hulk Hogan is to, you know, in 2021. And, you know, I know if like The Rock's music hit, but even there was times when the Rock shine didn't work for Roman Reigns. Like, I feel like there's not a situation where if Austin comes out and kind of gives that endorsement to somebody, that it's not going to work. I feel like Austin's the one that kind of changed everything. And he kind of, they said it on the A&E documentary, which if you haven't watched that, my God, it is so good. But he kind of pulled the WWF up and saved them practically. So, and whoever wants to jump in, but is Austin the biggest superstar in wrestling history?
Absolutely. Bar none. At the height of wrestling popularity, there stood 2, maybe 3 men: Goldberg for WCW, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock for the WWE. And in my mind, you can look at, from the moment that glass shatters, the pop that he received, it will never be matched. Wrestling, I don't think, will ever be as popular as it was back in the, I mean, we were in high school. We're high school age.
Middle school, high school, yeah.
And The Rock and Stone Cold, and we're going to school, and people we never knew as wrestling fans are wearing wrestling shirts. You go to Walmart, you find wrestling t-shirts. You go to the flea markets and Roots and the Green Dragons, you find wrestling shirts. They were everywhere. And they were Stone Cold Steve Austin shirts. DX shirts, yeah, but they were Stone Cold shirts, middle fingers in the air. You'd go to the show, you'd have the 7-year-old in front of you giving the middle fingers.
Or if they don't give the middle finger, the mom, I'm sure from Lebanon County, making them stick the middle fingers in the air.
County. For sure, Lebanon County.
For sure, Lebanon County.
Erie County as well.
Yeah, well, that's true. There are some.
Any of the outliers around here.
Sure.
Definitely teaching their kids.
Lebanon or North and West from Lebanon.
There will never be anybody more popular,
right? Because
in wrestling than Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And obviously we'll go around, but like you hit on the second part of my question, and I agree with you. I don't think it ever, like, can anyone or anything ever get near that level? And I don't think it ever will. I really don't.
I mean, the only other thing, again, I could think of, and it really goes back to like that initial pop, is the opening bars to like Real American in the 80s. Bop, bop, Hulk Hogan, pop.
Sure.
That glass shatter, man, that fucking changed the game.
Yeah.
Everybody knew business was about to pick up once that glass shattered, and it was balls to the wall. Just everything about it. Like, I can visualize the signs, just the crowd. What a special time in wrestling. We're never going to get it again.
For sure. Tim, Matt, Mark, thoughts?
I'm going to say it's not Austin. I'm gonna, and I hate to give the devil his due, but redacted. For the simple fact that
Joey Ryan?
No, not him.
Oh.
No. HH brother.
Oh.
The Thermos Man.
There's just so many redacteds in wrestling.
I was going to say it's hard to keep track.
I know it's tough, and that's a shame, but no, to me it's Hogan. For the simple fact that, at least with Austin, to your point, there were other factors at play during Austin's rise.
What?
That made wrestling big then. Because during the same time that you got that going on, Austin 316 takes place, what, June of 96? The NWO forms in June of 96. So at the same time, you've got the NWO and Austin 316 at the same time. And like both boats racing at the same time. They're chasing each other, but Austin doesn't get to the superstardom until what? Royal Rumble 97, maybe. So
true, and then winning the title.
Yeah, but I think even before that, because it was all the build up with it was really that run between SummerSlam and the Royal Rumble after Austin gets dumped on his head and he can't wrestle and he's stunning everybody.
Oh, that's true.
So September 96 until, or 97, no. September 97 until
right.
Royal Rumble 98. So it was
right.
King of the Ring 97, right?
Well, no, it was. What year was the curtain call? Because the curtain call.
That was 96. So yeah,
I get the point, Tim, but like, still being active, still received the biggest pops of the night, just stunning people.
I mean,
it was that simple. The guy doesn't even have to work matches to be the most over guy.
Right, but
he's definitely the most over star, but to say he's the biggest is, and I'll go after Tim, but
yeah.
I'm on Tim's side here. I think we're saying that Stone Cold is super over and always will be, and I think that's true. Probably the most over, especially with what's happened. But to say the biggest, I think, kind of downplays how important Hulk was and discredits a lot of what was going on during Stone Cold's time.
And Hulk, and the point being is that Hulk was the star that raised everyone else up to him. It was Hulkamania and rock and wrestling. It wasn't like everything else happening at the same time. Austin 316 doesn't get to where it is unless he feuds with Bret Hart. And then like the feud with Bret, Survivor Series 96 through King of the Ring, or through WrestleMania. And then after that, Bret's got to get screwed at SummerSlam 90 or at Survivor Series 97 for Vince McMahon to even hitch his wagon to that. During that year and a half time between the birth of Austin 316 and the peak of Stone Cold Steve Austin, so many other things have happened in wrestling, because you've also got DX that springs up at the same time. The Rock debuts. Goldberg is on the cusp of showing up, because he shows up in end of 97, beginning of 98. But the Outsiders have already gone over. NWO is going crazy. NWO is crushing, or WCW is crushing the ratings at the time.
So that's true as well.
Tim, you've got a great point. And really, when I think Hogan, I think of like 80s Hogan before he ever leaves. Because I think like yellow and red Hogan in WCW was incredibly watered down. And for some reason, I just never give him enough credit with the NWO. So like the NWO factor in Hogan's career definitely pushes him over the edge for me. You have done enough for me to change my vote and say, Jim, you're wrong. It is absolutely Hulk Hogan.
Wow. All right. Wow.
You did it.
But Austin to me, no one will be as hot as Stone Cold Steve Austin. But to be as big, like, it's got to be the Hulkster.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Hogan carried wrestling in the 80s. Because, I mean, when we're talking about Hogan, like, we've also mentioned Austin, The Rock. I mean, Taker was big back then. Mankind was the reason that the ratings even came to WWF because of that time when they were just leaking spoilers. So there's like 4 or 5 wrestlers that you can talk about with Austin at that time that are building this brand, making it huge. Like, can you name 4 or 5 wrestlers during Hulk's time that are like on that level with Hulk?
I mean, at the beginning, Andre, but he was near the end of Andre. Warrior, maybe.
But
Right.
Warrior wasn't until WrestleMania 6.
Yes, there's 3 more years. Savage.
WrestleMania
The Mega Powers
3.
explode.
He doesn't get hot
Santana.
until 3. Like,
Greg
the
the Hammer
top
Valentine.
stars, the top stars at WrestleMania 1 is
Paul Orndorff.
Paul Orndorff, Roddy Piper. They had to bring in Mr. T and Cyndi Lauper
True.
and like
Okay, act like WCW didn't bring in Jay Leno.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. But that was in like 99.
The guy that screwed Conan. Conan screwed Conan. That was Jay Leno.
Conan screwed Conan.
I think he screwed Letterman first, didn't he?
Yeah,
Then
Leno,
Conan.
Leno, what a prick.
Yeah.
3 Count Thursday is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app. That's arenaeats.app for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? Mark, so we don't forget about what's your take on this? I just don't
I'll
want to
tell you-
forget about you.
Don't forget about me. I'm right here.
Hi,
You know,
Mark.
honestly, going into this, I was really
hi,
thinking
Mark.
Stone Cold, hands down. Hi, boys. But after listening to Tim's argument or his point of view, I really think you got to say it was Hogan, because Hogan had the 80s. He was the WWF in the 80s, or at least a good chunk of the 80s. And then I don't know that the New World Order would be nearly as big as they were without Hogan. Hall and Nash alone they're great stars and they have star power, but boy, if you didn't put Hogan in that mix, I don't think it would have
I mean,
taken off like it
King
did.
Mabel was supposed to be the third man, right? I mean, I don't think
It
it
was-
would have
it
had
was
the
rumored.
same.
Come on.
Mabel would really, boy, that would be something.
Probably wouldn't have had
Mabel
like.
was the
There's
third man.
nobody. There's nobody else that can make that. I mean that's a good point. Like, there's nobody
No.
else that can make that moment.
I mean, what was the other one? Sting. I mean, there's a great what if.
Yeah.
You know, what
Yeah.
if they
Sting
went
was the
with
third
Sting?
man.
Yeah, I think they went with Sting. It would be big, but it wouldn't be nearly as big, and I think it would fizzle out a lot faster than what it did.
Yeah. Yeah. So another way to like grade everything is to look at it from the era in which the biggest star wasn't at the company. When Hogan leaves WWF in 94, the impact that was left from Hogan being gone was atrocious in 95 for WWF.
Oof.
Like, we can all agree that 1995 WWF, not good.
Yeah. Okay. Like,
No.
just a
Thanks,
quick,
Bret Hart.
We got Mantars and Duke Rosies.
real
and-
quick sidebar. I actually saw a thread today. Somebody was trying to say that today's WWE product was worse than 95. Like,
Oh,
we
please.
like we can have a debate on another week of historically where this period, the dot over the I, and the Jeremy Bearimy leaves WWE and Monday Night Raw historically in terms of quality. But I challenge anybody that has that opinion to go back. I don't know if those 1995 TV shows have made it onto the cock yet, but if they have, I challenge you to go back and watch them and realize how wrong you are. Like, not like this may not be the best period or anywhere close to it, but 95 was abysmal. It was so bad. But anyway, back to your point, Tim.
But so when Hogan leaves in 94, nobody else left with him, and the depression that takes place in the WWF through 95, the rest of 94 into 95, there's a lot of reloading. But when Austin leaves, so many other people, like The Rock leaves a year later. Hogan's back, but not really. Kurt Angle's not as hot as he was. Triple H is he's on the incline, but like they're reloading for Evolution at that point.
But you don't think the WWE learned from that depression when Hogan left to never be put in that situation again and always have guys on the bench to take that spot as soon as number one leaves? Like you can't necessarily praise Hogan for the gap that he left, that the WWE didn't have anybody to plug in there, that all they had was Aldo Montoya. Like, that's not a kudos to Hogan. That's just bad business.
I'm not even saying it's a kudos to Hogan. It's showing the
AJ
wake,
Blanco.
the wake that Hogan left for the exact same reason. A lot of people think that like WWF 2000 or WWE 2005, 2006, not good. And they had stars there in 95 and 96. Shawn Michaels had come back from back injury. Like, they had all these people. And a lot of people.
Batista, so it's not.
Almost height of Powers Batista, too. But it's
Scrubs
like.
are going to scrub.
But they also had John Cena.
My only defense.
The Undertaker and everybody else.
But my only like real defense for Austin as the number one is like. And I'm great points on Hulk Hogan, things I didn't necessarily take into consideration. But like Hogan had, the 80s, most of the 90s. He goes to WCW. Like, he was there and established for the better part of, 15, 20 years that he wrestled. And it was this huge resume. Like, if you look at Stone Cold Steve Austin and I, like, to me, that's like the key point of it. Because yes, Steve Austin worked Hollywood Blondes and he worked, in ECW a bit, and he was the ringmaster in WWF. But like the time period of Stone Cold Steve Austin is an active like wrestler, very short, featured player on WWE TV, a short period of time if we're really talking about it, and is still, he sold the most T-shirts of all times. He still gets that pop to this day. And I understand, like, there's things outside the world of wrestling that have impacted what happens with Terry when when that music hits. But like when I'm looking at everything, if you asked this question 2 years ago, then maybe I do lean a little bit into Hogan or whenever, I don't remember when the tape and the lawsuit and all of that stuff.
It wasn't a year before the pandemic started.
Time is completely irrelevant in Big Jim's world at this point right now. But like, if you go pre, when the tape and all of that stuff comes out on Hogan, then maybe I'm leaning into that a little bit more. But to me, and I mean, I know Austin hasn't had the best past either, but to me, that glass shatters today. It's at WrestleMania, which we're probably going to get at WrestleMania Dallas, I would imagine. When that glass shatters, there's not going to be booze in that crowd. And yeah. I take that into consideration as well.
So I think, like, Matt had a great point. If we talk about it as the most over wrestler, I think everybody could agree that the most over wrestler would be Stone Cold. I think you look at the Attitude Era and you think Stone Cold, so Attitude Era, height of wrestling, the highest star at that time being Stone Cold, most over.
But like, and
But the
also
question
too, like,
truly is most over, or who will get the biggest pop? Stone Cold,
yeah,
every day, all
and
day.
also to the point of like, you know, if Austin went down, or when Austin went down, you had The Rock and you had Mankind, and you had DX, and you had, does The Rock become The Rock if it's not for Austin 316? Does Mankind become the Mankind we know if not for Austin 316? All of those things that you got to kind of look at it too. Like, if Austin 316 doesn't happen, what you know,
What if?
Right. So, you know, and we'll kind of hold that because that may play into one of my what ifs. But like, I just, to me, I think a lot of the things that softened the blow when Austin got hurt and when Austin went away were because of Austin 316.
So you mentioned like the shirt sales
Mhm.
for Austin. Austin was selling Hogan level shirts at a time in which wrestling shirts were popular. Hulk was selling shirts as the only wrestling shirt in town.
The Bushwhackers had a shirt.
Not in the beginning of Hulkamania.
Let's talk about
Did,
shirts real quick, Tim, and
Yeah.
talk about the best-selling shirt that you have on your body right now.
It's good.
Not only is it the best
What a
shirt,
beaut.
it is the softest freaking shirt in the history of wrestling shirts.
I mean, I don't have that one. I have the Boris War one, but I assume they're the same, like the physical shirt, and it's
It
so
is in
comfy.
the style. It's in the style of the Kevin Nash Wolfpack shirt with Big Kev on one side and then the Wolf on the other with the NWO logo here. Same look and feel. Just the thighs alone on this.
Look at those hawks.
Gee, like God. What a God, what a man.
I slid into the Boar's DMs the other day to purchase a shirt.
He's got him.
He was taking care of the Pride lands
That's right.
and never responded back.
Oh,
Oh, I got you. I got you. I got you. I'm on it. You know what? We'll have an answer. We'll have an answer on that when we
He
come
answered.
back.
He said he was preoccupied. I said, take your time. It's no big rush. I have plenty of shirts.
well,
to
there's
wear.
a baby
little-
boar in the wild, so he's
little
There is.
piglet. Little
He's-
There is. I
piglet.
think he was taking care of the piglet. It was near bedtime, so I understand it.
totally,
Yeah.
totally understandable.
Boars are very active during the day. I'm sure
They are.
it's not a big deal, but I definitely need to get either that Kevin Nash style shirt or the Boars War shirt. I don't know which one to get, but I've heard they're super comfortable.
Oh, the best. The best.
Tim, plug the guy's Twitter.
At Boar is War.
What a
BOARISWAR.
great shirt.
Boar is War.
It's fantastic.
He's all over the world. He's doing everything.
He was down in Tampa during WrestleMania week. I heard there was a boar sighting in the great state of Florida,
I heard about that.
or the state of
Florida,
Florida,
yeah.
depending how you feel about the state of Florida.
Yeah, he was down there for the showcase of the independents for independentwrestling.tv.
Three Count Thursday is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?